What if there was a character like Bailu that gave your team CC prevention? What if that character also gave your team crit rate buffs? And what if that character also was a lot more skill point positive and auto friendly than a character like Bailu? And that character is Fu Xuan. Let me explain. So Bailu is a character that you really just want to make sure your allies never die. And I think Bailu does an amazing job at that. The only issue this character has is she has no way of cleansing, just like Natasha and Luocha, who can cleanse your allies, which makes them leagues above Bailu in certain situations. Bailu does give a ton of healing with her ultimate, and she does apply invigoration to the team, which makes your team a lot more tanky. When they get hit by the enemy, they will heal, which is very, very valuable. She also does increase the allies' max HP if they are overhealed, which is very good, but it also will matter a little later in the video when we talk about Fu Xuan. And then those characters with invigoration will take a further 10% less damage, which solidifies Bailu being a character that makes your allies a lot more tankier. So Bailu is a character that essentially allows your team to stay alive relatively easily while making your characters a lot more tanky. She does work pretty well with a character like Blade because she does provide enough healing and damage mitigation to where the character will never really die. But I mean, Blade is a character that is pretty self-sufficient on his own. So when we talk about Fu Xuan, you'll see why I mentioned Blade being an exception to the rule. Now, if you're playing hyper carry teams in Honkai Star Rail, your team will look a lot like this. You have your hyper carry damage dealer, in this case Seal, or maybe Denheng and Bibitu Lunai. Then you have your character that is of the Harmony that applies buffs to your main damage dealer, in this case Seal. And then you have your Nihility, or maybe your second Harmony character that is either going to apply either debuffs as the Nihility character, or apply buffs furthermore to that damage carry. And then you have your defensive option, right? I always say defensive option because abundance and preservation characters more or less want to do the same thing, and that is make sure your team stays relatively healthy. Now, the only reason why this team actually works is because you have a character like Bronya. If you build her with effect resistance, will have it to where she doesn't get CC'd and she can cleanse your main damage dealer, which means you don't necessarily need to have cleanses on the rest of your allies, because the one cleanser in your team is going to be cleansing your hyper carry anyways and pushing up the action forward of that character. Now, in most scenarios, people use Luocha over Bailu because Luocha makes it to where you don't necessarily ever have to use your elemental skill, because this character will literally heal your team whenever they need healing. He also has mass AoE healing with his passive, the Abyss Flower, which allows your team to heal passively. That's very, very valuable in a healer. So in a team like this, Luocha becomes even better as the abundance or defensive option because he has a lot more cleansing capabilities than a character like Bailu, so that other characters, maybe your Bronya actually does get CC'd by the enemy because maybe that enemy has like 100% effect hit rate, then you'll have a character that can also cleanse that ally, which means you'll have much more ways of negating the CC effects. Now, no matter the defensive option you use in your team, you want that character to provide mitigation or healing to where your allies never die. And Jeopard does a pretty good job at that. The only problem is that he really has anti-synergy with a character like Seal because his character is way too fast. Jeopard has like the slowest base speed in the game. My man's is 92 speed. He is dirt slow. A character like Seal has 23 speed over Jeopard, which means you not only need speed boots on your Jeopard, need even more speed because Seal will increase her own speed by 2 turns, and this is on her elemental skill, which means this is a large portion of the character's damage. So you bet your ass you will be using this most of the time. If you're using Lynx and you're using Jeopard, this team can actually work because then Jeopard could keep up with the rest of the team. So Fu Xuan is the best of both worlds. She is a character that provides all the buffs a character like Bailu would, which makes her very good in hyper carry team compositions, and she is a character that has the traits of a character like Luocha, being a skill point positive and being a character that can negate CC effects, which means she has a lot of value in any team comp virtually, but especially the mono team composition to where you can replace your character that cleanses the team, such as Bailu or even a character like Lynx. And on top of that, she has all the damage mitigating effects that a character like Bailu has. So that means you probably will never use Bailu ever again if you get Fu Xuan. I also didn't mention that the crit rate buff and all the other buffs that Fu Xuan provides is dependent on her own turns. So if you have a Seal that is fast as a motherfucker, which, I mean, my Seal isn't that fast, But if you have a seal with her Lycoon best in slot, and you have a few speed stats on the seal, maybe you even have her Eidolon too, you have a seal that's going to be extremely fast. But you also will take advantage of Fu Xuan providing buffs that are dependent on her own turns, meaning you have the best defensive option you could ask for a character like Seal, because this character is going to be taking the most turns in the team and won't have to worry about all the buffs that your defensive options provide to this character expiring. We also know that a character like Fu Xuan does heal your allies, which means she is a character that has abundance-like traits, meaning she has the healing you would want from a character like Bailu. But on top of that, she has the damage mitigation to where you'll never really need to worry about ever being that low HP in the first place. And if you combine it with the fact that there is Lycoons that will further decrease the damage your allies take, even if it is for 5 turns, which only content this really matters in is in high levels of Memories of Chaos, then you'll have a character that can virtually make it to where your allies will never ever die. Meaning the revive Bailu has doesn't even matter in the first place. If we combine that with the fact that she does also give your allies more HP, because it was shown that the buffs she gives alongside the crit rate is a little HP looking buff, so that probably means she's going to give allies HP, making them even more tanky, just like Bailu's overheal. So then your character like Silverwolf will never ever get one shot, even if you build this character as a DPS, which is going to be very beneficial in the mono quantum team composition. One of the interesting characters that you can use with Fu Xuan is going to be Clara, and I find this character to be even more interesting because she provides her own damage mitigation herself. So if you combine that with the fact that Fu Xuan will provide even more damage mitigation to the team, you'll have a character that will literally take like 1 damage. It's going to be crazy to see how Fu Xuan works with Clara, and if you also take into consideration Lynx can increase the aggro on your destruction or preservation character, we're going to see a lot more Clara in the near future. What I find very nice is that she's going to be a character that will probably be best in slot in the dot teams, and the reason being is because a character like Ting Yun is very squishy. If you want your Ting Yun to provide the most buffs she can provide, you will have a very squishy Ting Yun. But the contrast to that means you'll have a character that will be one-shot at all times. So a character like Fu Xuan being able to provide damage mitigation to the team, which I mean a character like Bailu already did that, but the truth is Bailu had no way of stopping your allies from getting CC'd. And furthermore, if you really want to be a little spicy, you could build your Kafka as a Kritka, which means you'll take advantage of all the buffs that Fu Xuan furthermore provides, thus having a character that is going to be best in slot in this team. Because maybe you have her best in slot 5-star Lycone, which means you don't really want a character like Jetpart anyways, because that character is too slow to keep up with a character like Kafka. Then you'll have a character like Fu Xuan, who gives the damage mitigations dependent on her turn, so where you don't have to necessarily worry about Kafka ever really getting one shot. Now the list of characters that benefit from Fu Xuan's existence can go on and on, but that's a video I really want to save for the release of Fu Xuan's banner. Now on top of that, I also do want to mention that a character like Jing really does benefit from a character like Fu Xuan, to the point where I really want to talk about it right now, but again, I want to save that for the future. I think a lot of Jing mains will be happy with the release of this character. I think anyone will be happy with the release of this character, because she is a character that can benefit almost every single character in the game, other than Blade. But that is a character that literally doesn't need anyone, he just needs himself. That's the video here, thank you for watching. I will have a bigger video coming out tomorrow, so look forward to that. I just wanted to get this video out there because, I don't know, it was something that crossed my mind when I was in the shower, and I was like, wait a second, Fu Xuan actually replaces Bailu in nearly every single team. Well, honestly, every team. Anyways, thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.